Greetings my fellow knights and welcome back to Recon by Fire. For today's battle, the Imperial Knights are running the Questoris Companions detachment. They are bringing a Canis Rex, a Knight Lancer, a Crusader, a Gallant, and 3 Helverins. Steve is running his Necrons with the Starshatter detachment. He's bringing a Void Dragon, a Nightbringer, an Overlord leading 10 Necron Warriors, a Skorpekh Lord attached to 3 Skorpekh Destroyers, a Technomancer attached to 6 Wraiths and 2 Cryptothralls, 5 Deathmarks, 5 Flayed Ones, a Heavy Destroyer with the anti-tank weapon, a Reanimator, and 2 Doomsday Arks. For today's battle, we are running Mission Pack Juliet, which is Linchpin. Deployment is Search and Destroy, and we're playing on terrain layout number 6. Top of round 1, and the Imperial Knights are going first. They will draw Marked for Death and Cleanse as their secondaries for the turn. Marked for Death targets are the Destroyer, the Wraiths, and the Warriors. Gamma target will be the Flayed Ones near the center of the board. Canis Rex will use his CP discount to sticky the home objective for free. Start of the movement phase, the Knight Lancer will advance 17 inches directly into the Necron's deployment zone. The Red Helverin will move its full 12 inches to get line of sight on the DDA. The Knight Crusader will move on to the objective and tow into the template to be able to see the DDA. The Knight Gallant will plow through the wall, succeeding its leadership check and landing on the center objective to cleanse. Not wanting to expose himself to the Nightbringer just yet, Canis Rex will plow through the wall between the Crusader and the Gallant. Start of the shooting phase, and the Lancer will attempt to shock lance the nearby Reanimator. It only suffers 2 wounds. Helverin, buffed by the Crusader, will fire into the Doomsday Ark, knocking off 3 wounds. Necrons will spend a command point to react and move after being shot, but unfortunately the DDA rolls a 3 and it's not enough to get it out of line of sight. The Knight Crusader proceeds to bring the rain, firing everything into the DDA, and it proves to be enough to pick the Ark up. Time for charges, and the Imperial Knights will spend a command point to allow the Lancer to advance and charge, and it makes its charge into the Flayed Ones. Free tank shock plus a strong sweep picks up the entire unit, scoring the Gamma target. That is going to end the turn for the Imperial Knights. They will score 5 points for cleansing 2 objectives and 2 points on Marked for Death. Bottom of round 1 for the Necrons, they will draw Marked for Death and extend battle lines as their secondaries for the turn. Marked for Death targets are Canis Rex and the 2 Helverins. Gamma target will be the Knight Lancer. The Reanimator will heal back up to full. Start of the movement phase, and the Nightbringer unfortunately does not roll high enough on the advance to make it onto the objective and will simply remain behind cover. The Skorpekh Lord, on the other hand, rolls a 6 and they rocket towards the natural expansion. The Heavy Destroyer and the Warriors inside the building will pull back off the wall to have line of sight into the Lancer. The Reanimator will bravely run away behind cover. The Warriors fire into the Lancer, plinking off 2 wounds, and the Overlord's one-shot missile gets deflected by the Lancer's invul shield. Heavy Destroyer is up next and knocks off 6 wounds. DDA fires into the Lancer now, command reroll on the number of shots, and it survives at 14 wounds. With no charges lined up, that is going to end the turn for the Necrons. They will score 4 points for extend battle lines and discard Marked for Death for a command point. Top of round 2 for the Imperial Knights, they will draw Bring It Down and Behind Enemy Lines as their secondaries for the turn. They control 2 objectives and their home and will score 13 points on primary. Start of the movement phase, and the Gallant will move in on the Destroyers but remaining on the opposite side of the Nightbringer. The Lancer will position itself on the Necron's home objective, ready to charge the DDA, and again as far away from the Nightbringer as possible. Night Crusader will bondsman the Helverin in front of it, and because it has no targets, will move to the other side of the objective to gain line of sight. It succeeds its battle shock test. Canis Rex will simply move on to the center objective to sticky it next turn. Helverin will move on to the 2-inch ruin to push back any potential rapid ingress. Neon Helverin will move to the outside of the wall to gain line of sight on both the Nightbringer and the Skorpeks. The Legion Helverin will move to the other side of the building but remain on the objective. At the end of the movement phase, Necrons will rapid ingress the Void Dragon in the back corner with line of sight into the Crusader. At the start of the shooting phase, the Knights will spend a command point to Titanic Duel the Crusader, giving it +1 to hit and +1 to wound into monsters, and it will fire everything into the Void Dragon. Void Dragon rolls like absolute trash on its saves and feel no pains, and down goes the Catan. The Lancer will fire into the Reanimator, dealing 3 wounds. The Red Helverin will fire into the DDA, dealing 3 damage, and it is now suppressed, meaning -1 to hit until the next round. Canis Rex then fires at high intensity into the Skorpekh Destroyers, absolutely popping off and picking up the entire squad, including the Lord. This will complete the first oath for the Knights, earning them 2 CP, and they will select extra movement and to hold more objectives than their opponent in the next command phase. Neon Helverin fires into the Nightbringer, but no joy. Gallant into the Nightbringer, and it deals 3 damage. It's charge o'clock, and the Lancer makes the charge into the DDA. It will remain practically in place to avoid the heroic intervention from the Nightbringer. Free tank shock and the strike attack from the Lancer proves to be enough to take down the DDA. It does not explode, and the Lancer will not consolidate. That is going to end the turn for the Imperial Knights. They will score 4 points for bring it down and 3 points for behind enemy lines. Bottom of round 2 for the Necrons, they will draw Cleanse and Area Denial as their secondaries for the turn. They control their home objective and will score 3 points on primary. Reanimator will heal 4 wounds, and the Nightbringer heals back up to full. At the start of the movement phase, the Wraiths are going to just barely fly over the Lancer and land on the side of the building, dealing 3 mortals for their troubles. The Nightbringer is going to move towards the Night Gallant. The Reanimator will move back towards the home objective to be within range of all the regenerating units. The Destroyer, the Overlord, and all the Warriors fire into the Lancer and finally take the Knight Cerastus down. The Nightbringer gazes upon the Gallant and blasts it, bringing it down to 19 wounds. Straight into charges, the Nightbringer needs an 8 into the Gallant. First roll is a 4, command reroll to try to make it, and it unfortunately rolls a 6. That will end a quick turn for the Necrons. They will discard both Area Denial and Cleanse for a command point. Top of round 3, and the Imperial Knights will draw Sabotage and extend battle lines as their secondaries for the turn. They control 3 objectives and will score 13 points on primary. At the start of the command phase, Canis will use his discount to sticky the center objective. Start of the movement phase, the Helverin will button hook around the corner and move into the building, gaining line of sight on the Reanimator. The Night Gallant will step onto the objective and move in on the Nightbringer. Canis Rex will follow suit and also move in on the Nightbringer. Neon Helverin will move onto the objective just in case. Start of the shooting phase, the Helverin will fire into the Reanimator and it suffers 3 wounds. The Crusader will begin to sabotage and then fire everything into the Wraiths since it cannot see the Reanimator. It picks up 3 of them and wounds a 4th. Helverin will fire into the Nightbringer and it makes all of its saves. Canis Rex and the Gallant both fire into the Nightbringer, knocking off 6 wounds. It's charge o'clock, and both the Gallant and Canis Rex make their charges into the Nightbringer. 1 command point for tank shock, and 5 mortals goes down to 3 mortals. Imperial Knights spend a command point on Titanic Duel targeting the Gallant, and it will strike due to the dev wounds, but the Nightbringer survives. Necrons will spend 2 CP to interrupt with the Nightbringer. The -1 to hit from the Helverin makes a difference as it swings into Canis, and he manages to survive at just 12 wounds. The clapback from Canis proves to be fatal, and the Catan finally gets picked up. That is going to end the turn for the Imperial Knights. They will score 4 points for extend battle lines, and sabotage is ongoing. Bottom of round 3 for the Necrons, they will draw Defend Stronghold and Display of Might as their secondaries for the turn. They control their home objective and will score 3 points on primary. The Reanimator will heal 3 wounds, and the Wraiths will heal for 4. Start of the movement phase, and both the Reanimator and the Wraiths will push towards Canis and the Gallant. The Heavy Destroyer will move outside the building to get line of sight on the Gallant. The Warriors will also step outside the building to have line of sight into the Helverin. Deathmarks have to arrive this turn and will land in the enemy backfield. Start of the shooting phase, and the Heavy Destroyer will fire into the Knight Gallant. Imperial Knights will spend a command point to give it a 6+ Feel No Pain for the phase. Command reroll from the Necrons to make sure the shot wounds, and the Gallant suffers 5 damage. Technomancer and company fire into the Gallant as well, but no joy. Reanimator into the Gallant, and it scores a single wound. Warriors fire everything into the Helverin inside the building, and it suffers 4 wounds. Into the charge phase, and the Warriors absolutely kill it with a 10, making it into the Helverin. In a bold strategy, the Wraiths will make the dual charge into both Canis Rex and the Gallant. Let's see how it works out for him, Cotton. 2 Wraiths go into Canis Rex, managing to bracket him, and the rest go into the Gallant, and it barely survives at just 5 wounds remaining. Warriors swing into the Helverin and bring it down to just 7 wounds. Decent crackback from the Helverin, and it picks up 2 of the Warriors. Canis Rex will use his CP discount to add precision to his weapons, and he will sweep into the Wraiths, taking down the Technomancer and the 2 Cryptothralls. Lastly is the Gallant that will strike into the Wraiths, picking up 3 of them and leaving just a single one alive. That is going to end the turn for the Necrons, and unfortunately they will discard both Defend Stronghold and Display of Might for a command point. The Imperial Knights hold more objectives than their opponent at the end of their opponent's turn, and this will complete their second oath. This will generate them 1 CP, and they will select their final oath and quality. They will also score 3 points for completing the sabotage. Top of round 4 for the Imperial Knights, and they will draw Storm Hostile Objective and a Tempting Target as their secondaries for the turn. They control 4 objectives and will score 15 points on primary. The Knight Gallant is battle shocked. Start of the movement phase, and the Legion Helverin will backtrack to get line of sight on the Deathmarks. Canis Rex will plow through the wall and onto the Necron's home objective, succeeding its leadership check. The Helverin will succeed its desperate escape and fall back from the Warriors. The Knight Crusader will move towards the Necron's deployment zone to get line of sight on the Warriors. The Knight Gallant will move in on the pesky Reanimator. Start of the shooting phase, and the Helverin picks up the Deathmarks. The Helverin and the Gallant fire into the Reanimator, picking it up. Canis Rex fires into the Heavy Destroyer and picks it up. The Knight Crusader absolutely shreds the Warriors and the Overlord. Charge o'clock, and the Gallant makes the charge into the Wraith, and yeah, you can guess what happens. That is going to end the turn for the Imperial Knights. They will score 5 points for a Tempting Target and discard Storm Hostile Objective for a command point. Our players decide to end the game there, making the final score 78-20 in favor of the Imperial Knights. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and watching. If you like the battle report, then please hit that like and subscribe button and tell your friends about us. Feel free to leave us a comment about what you do and don't like about the channel as we continue to try out various video formats to improve on. If you'd like to support the channel directly, consider becoming a channel member as you can suggest what models for us to bring in our lists. But that will do it for today, friends. So until next time, happy gaming.